In 2023, nearly 2.5 million foreign nationals were living and working inside South Korea. That is roughly 1 in 20 people on the peninsula. For a country that spent decades defining itself through ethnic and cultural homogeneity, that number is quietly remarkable. Korea did not advertise this shift. There was no grand national debate, no defining referendum. The factories simply needed hands, the farms needed workers, and the fishing boats needed crews. And so the workers came. The real question is not whether Korea changed, it is how deeply and whether Korean society was ever ready for it. According to Korea's Ministry of Justice, the registered foreign population crossed 2 million for the first time in 2016 and has climbed steadily since. By the end of 2023, roughly 1.1 million of those workers held manufacturing, agriculture, or fishery visas, the so-called blue-collar categories. The employment permit system, which channels most of this labor, brought in workers from 16 designated sending countries, including Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, and Nepal. Statistics Korea reported that foreign workers now account for more than 10% of the workforce in small and medium-sized manufacturing firms. Meanwhile, Korea's own working-age population has been shrinking since 2017, according to the OECD. The labor gap is not a forecast, it is already here. Korea's dependence on foreign labor did not appear overnight. It was the predictable result of 3 forces colliding at once. First, the demographic collapse. Korea's total fertility rate fell to 0.72 in 2023, the lowest ever recorded in any OECD country, according to Statistics Korea. Fewer births meant fewer young workers entering the labor pool a generation later. Second, the education premium. As Korean families pushed their children toward universities and white-collar careers, entire industries were left without anyone willing to fill the physical, often dangerous roles. Third, the wage floor. Korean small manufacturers, squeezed between large conglomerates and overseas competition, could not afford to raise wages high enough to attract domestic workers. The employment permit system, launched in 2004 under the Ministry of Employment and Labor, was meant to be a controlled valve. It became a structural pillar. The system has delivered real output, but at a visible human price. Human Rights Watch and Korean civil society groups have documented patterns of wage theft, unsafe housing, and restricted mobility. Workers are generally bound to a single employer under the permit system, leaving them with little power to walk away from poor conditions. A 2022 report from the Korea Institute for Health and Social Affairs found that foreign workers reported significantly lower access to healthcare, despite paying into the national insurance system. There is also a quiet social cost. Surveys by the Korean Statistical Information Service have found persistently low social trust between native Koreans and foreign worker communities. The workers built the factories, filled the greenhouses, and crewed the boats. But belonging has been slower to arrive than the visa stamp. Korea's story is not uniquely Korean. Japan, Germany, and the Gulf states have all built systems that welcome foreign labor while hesitating to welcome foreign people. The pattern is consistent. A country prioritizes economic output, designs a system for controlled temporary migration, and then discovers that human lives do not behave like interchangeable parts. Workers stay, children are born, communities form. The economy and the culture move at different speeds, and the gap between them becomes a policy problem, then a social one. Korea is near the beginning of that reckoning. The fertility rate will not reverse quickly. The factories will not empty. The only real question left is whether the society that built one of the 20th century's great economic miracles can now build something harder, a framework for living alongside the people who help sustain it.